I have been illustrating all day today. As you have seen, I've been working on potential bookmarks, and I have this really cool idea for a theme of these bookmarks. I don't know, I'm brewing something up and I'm so excited. I bought some stuff to potentially make the bookmarks at home. I'm gonna see if it works out. I bought a laminator, some hopefully good quality cardstock. I'm probably gonna test that out tomorrow and finish making the illustration I'm currently working on. I already finished one. If you've seen my last video of my desk makeover, then you've seen the bookmark that one of the bookmarks that I made. So I'm working on another one today. It's been really fun. I have not made new product in such a long time. I've been just working on my book, and finally I am so excited to get back in the rhythm of just creating new products. I also opened up a TikTok shop, but I don't have any products on there yet. I'm gonna give TikTok a go. I'm not usually on TikTok, but I do want to reach more audience. As much as I sometimes don't like it, because social media could be a lot, at the end of the day, social media is a great place to get noticed, and especially if you are a small business, to get your small business noticed and poppin'. So I'm gonna give it a go. So the products that I am making, I'm thinking of adding those to my TikTok shop. I don't know if I'm gonna make a whole website of just items. I don't know, we're gonna see. I don't even know how TikTok shop really works. I already created the account and everything for TikTok shop, but I haven't looked at the details. It's like a fly flying around that I keep hearing, and it's like bugging the shit out of me. Hopefully it goes away. But anyways, I wanted to talk to you all about some books that I have enjoyed, that I read, because I realized that I have not given you guys a book update at all. And to be honest, I didn't really read that much during the months of June and July. As I mentioned, those were very busy months for me with the wrapping up of my book, and I had a lot of very crucial deadlines. But I did manage to get to some books, not as many as I wanted to, but I'm just gonna give you a quick little update of what I've been reading, and for the sake of not making this video super long, I'm just gonna go really fast with what I have been reading. So the first book that I think I read in June is Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I've been wanting to get into TJ Klune's writing, and this and this book did not disappoint. This book has been my most favorite book that I've read this year, I want to say, or among the top ones that I've read already this year. I absolutely loved it. If you want something that is a story about finding yourself, that even after death you could still find yourself, a love story, exploring your sexuality, funny and cute, but also a little bit morbid, because there is a lot of talk about death. If you like reapers, ghosts, this book is the one for you. I loved this book so much, and it made me sob so much at the end. I was literally in tears crying reading this book. It is absolutely one of my most favorite books that I've read already this year, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book that I believe I read in June is Crave by Tracy Wolff. I gave this book 3 stars, and this book is like, think about Twilight, but just super mushy and sappy. Like, Twilight is already a little mushy and sappy for me, but I still love Twilight. This book, Crave, is extra sappier and extra mushier. It gave me a little bit of Dark Academia vibes, but it's more fantasy based. We got vampires, we have a love story, we have a school that is full of different types of magical creatures. We got vampires, we got witches, we got gargoyles. Okay, I've never read a book with gargoyles in it, and I had a pretty good time. I gave it 3 stars because to me the storyline was kind of like eh, but this book was exactly what I needed it to be at that time in my life, where I just needed something to just kind of throw in the background and listen to it. I did listen to this in an audiobook, so to listen to it and just get me by. This is a whole series, so I am thinking of reading the next book around that same time, where you just want something easy to read That's what this book was for me. It was something easy to consume with all the fantasy and magical vibes that I personally like. So I give it 3 stars. It was okay, not horrible. The next book that I read, and I think this is what I started reading in July, was The Grace of Wild Things by Heather Fawcett. I think I mentioned this book before in one of my videos. This is an Anne of Green Gables retelling, but just witchy. I absolutely love Anne of Green Gables. So if you love Anne of Green Gables, I highly recommend this book. This is the same with the same sort of character names. So in this story, we're following our main character whose name is Grace. Grace is a witch, and she's an orphan, and she needs the help of the local witch who has a bad rep to help her with her powers, because her powers are kind of all over the place. I felt like this story was so heartwarming in the way where you are looking at a sort of evil portrayed witch, which is the witch that Grace needs the help from. I forgot her name. And you kind of end up just liking her at the end, or at least that was my experience. You kind of feel for her and you kind of get a sense of why she's the way she is. So I love the whole idea of portraying this evil villain in this book, and at the end you kind of just end up like liking her, even though she's still a little bit evil. So I really liked her, and you just kind of follow Grace along this journey with really cool characters with the same names of Anne of Green Gables. So I thought that was very fun and clever, and I absolutely loved this book. I gave it 4 stars. The next book that I read was The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix, and I'm sorry, I did not like it, which was such a bummer because I really wanted to like this book, but I gave it 2 stars. I want to first say about this book that I am rating this book on my own personal opinions and perspective as someone who is Latina. And I know this is just a book and it's a vampire book, right? But the portrayal of just Black trauma in particular for this book was very present, in my opinion. There's a lot of Black trauma that is portrayed. So in this book, we are pretty much following this mysterious person that comes into town, and at that same time, when this mysterious person comes into this small quaint town where everyone knows each other, people start going missing. And before that, in particular, Black children were going missing. And for some reason, that whole storyline really reminded me of Jeffrey Dahmer, the actual serial killer that was in the, what was it, the 70s or the 80s? Because Jeffrey Dahmer actually targeted Black men. And for some reason, it gave me all those vibes in this book. And it was just really hard to get through because in real life, I know there's a multitude of people that get targeted for no freaking reason at all, but a majority and a lot of them are marginalized communities. And it really broke my heart. So I felt that in this book. So we have this book club who is a book club of housewives, and they start reading very horror and gory type of books. And in particular, our main character, who is one of the housewives, she gets really fascinated with these types of books. And at the same time, when people start going missing in her town, or she starts hearing about it, or actually someone actually gets murdered in her town, she starts thinking that this potential person, who is very mysterious, is the one killing people. And our main character, whose name I already forgot, is trying to help and make people aware that this mysterious person is not someone to be trusted, and she's having a hard time convincing the men of the town that this person shouldn't be trusted. And even though this book is centered, I feel like, on Black people being murdered, or at least the children in this book being murdered, we only have one Black character who's actually speaking in this book, and that's Mrs. Green. And so I found that a bit troubling. Like, if we're going to be focusing on this vampire, or this potential vampire that is snatching kids or killing Black folks in particular, we should probably have more than one Black main character on here. I found that a little bit troubling. So if you are someone, a person of color, someone who's Black, I would highly advise to look up the trigger warnings before you jump into this book. I had a hard time getting through this book. I felt like the storyline was a good one, but then those red flags started coming up. So I gave it 2 stars for me. A cool storyline, but I feel like it could have been a lot better. And the next book that I read was Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I jumped in the bandwagon and read Fourth Wing. Everyone on TikTok was talking about it. So I was like, okay, let me see what this book is about. And there has been a combination of, oh, this book is a super hyped up book. It really wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And there's some people that were like, yeah, I absolutely love this book. And I am going to be one of those people that I really love this book, actually. And let me tell you why. First of all, when I finished reading this book, I was in the middle of I was kind of stuck in the middle where I wasn't sure whether I wanted to throw the book out the window or I was about to go and pre-order the next sequel that I think is coming out late this year. I was one of those. I was stuck in the middle, and then after thinking and letting the storyline sink in after I finished reading the book, I was like, you know what? I actually really enjoyed the book. So in this book, we're following our main protagonist who has some big shoes to fill. She comes from a family of dragon riders, and in this world, the kids or the students, they have to go to war school, and in this war school they could only choose from 3 potential majors. So one of them is becoming a dragon rider to go and fight in the front lines of a war that is happening in this world, and then the second one is you can become a scribe, which is, I suppose, just recording history and what is happening. And then I believe the third major is you can be like an herbalist or something like that. Our main character, she wants to be a scribe, and because of the history of her family, she comes from a very prestigious family who has been always dragon riders. She is forced by her mother to become a dragon rider. And in order to become a dragon rider, you of course have to fulfill so many tests, and she's put up to this challenge. The first thing that I loved about the main character is that she is someone with a chronic illness, and as someone myself with a chronic illness, I loved that representation on there. And so our main character is put to the test, and even though people are saying that she's not going to make it, of course she proves a lot of them wrong. I loved the dragons in this story. I love the enemies to lovers type of storyline on here as well, which, by the way, that's one of my complaints. I didn't even see it coming. Like, one day they're enemies and then the next day they're like devouring each other's faces. I did not even see that transition really coming. But the one thing that I did really appreciate from Rebecca Yarros was that she made this book really accessible to read. I know a lot of folks were complaining that the writing style was kind of like not their favorite and they didn't like it. I, on the other hand, really appreciate it because I have a really hard time getting into fantasy books because there's so much world building going on and you have to like read and imagine it in your head so you can really conceptualize the storyline. Or at least that's me. I don't know if that's what's going on when you guys are reading. But as I'm reading, I'm trying to envision it in my head of what this world looks like. And a lot of times I have such a hard time because this world building is so complex with all these beautiful writings of explaining of what this world looks like, and it's just too many big words, and my head just starts hurting, and then I end up putting the book away and I never finish it. So the thing that I really appreciated about Rebecca Yarros was that she made the writing style very accessible to me, and I also read that for other folks that was the case as well. So I love that about this book. One thing that I will say about the writing style is that it is very repetitive, and so every time, in particular, I think it was like this phrase, my head tingled or something like that, or my brain tingled, or I don't know, it was like a particular phrase that she kept using all the time throughout the book, and I was like, okay, please stop, we get it. Yeah, you're thinking or something, you got an idea or something, like, come on. Regardless, it was a really cool fantasy book to get into. I loved the dragons, I love their personalities, and I, for one, am excited for the next book to come out. So I gave that book 4 stars. And the last book that I read in July is Paula Santiago and the River of Tears by Taylor K. Mejia. This is a whole series, by the way, and I have 2 of the books. I believe there's 3, and I only have 2. I need to get the other one. This is a retelling of La Llorona. If you don't know who La Llorona is, you need to do some research. La Llorona is a Latin or Mexican, I'm not sure the origins, but a Latin American folk tale. And I believe in English she is called the Weeping Woman. And the folk tale goes something like La Llorona ended up falling in love with a man, and they had 2 kids, and then the man didn't want to marry her and he ended up leaving her for someone else. And so La Llorona ended up drowning her kids in a lake. Then she killed herself, I believe, or she also drowned herself. And when she killed herself, she didn't have access to go to heaven or to the other world. And so she was condemned to walk the streets in the real world as a ghost to look for her children. And it is said that La Llorona goes and steals children. And so they say when you are near a body of water in the middle of the night and you hear the cries of a woman, that is La Llorona, who is looking for her children and also looking to snatch some children. So I grew up with those stories and it always creeped me out. This is actually a middle grade book. It was so cool to read a middle grade book that is based on the folktale of La Llorona. In this particular storyline, we are following this little girl whose name is Paola Santiago. One of her friends actually goes missing. One of her best friends goes missing. And so the storyline is about Paola going on a quest to figure out what happened to her friend. And I thought it was so cute because Paola is someone who sort of believes more in the science of things and not the folktales that she also grew up in. She has a mom who loves reading tarot and she's very much into the woo-woo of things, and Paola is very much a skeptic. So when her friend goes missing, she sets out to go and try and find her friend, which she ends up in this very other type of otherworldly world where previous kids that have gone missing actually live. And amongst these kids, her friend is not with them. And the kids tell Paola that they were also taken and snatched by someone and they don't know who. So Paola goes on an adventure to try and figure out who's snatching these kids, which potentially takes them to La Llorona or someone else. So I don't want to give too much off, but it was so good. It's a middle grade book, like I said, and I had such a great time with this book. And I gave it 5 stars. So those are all the books that I read the last maybe 2 months. Like I said, it wasn't too many, but it's okay. It's okay. I am catching up and having a good time. But yeah, friends, I figured that I would just come on here and let you all know what I've been up to. I'm gonna go back and enjoy the ambiance of my little witchy dark corner over here and continue illustrating. And hopefully I can finish up my bookmarks so I can start playing around with my new laminator that I got and see what we can do about these potential bookmarks. All right, let's get to it. That's what she said? She's kind of bland.